Hey, I'm WVTM 13 Chief Meteorologist Jason Simpson. We've got impact weather coming up for Sunday night into early Monday morning. Some nuts and bolts about that. Most of these storms are not going to be severe by definition. Some of them will have wind gusts that do meet those severe criteria, which would be over 58 miles per hour. Isolated storms could go as high as 70 miles per hour. And that's enough to knock down some trees, potentially knock down power lines, and of course, toss trampolines, garbage cans, patio furniture, that sort of thing. Then we also have the threat of hail and frequent lightning, and the lightning may be incredible with some of these storms that pass through north and central Alabama through tonight and the first part of Monday morning. So let's get right down to it here. The Storm Prediction Center has outlined an enhanced risk of severe weather for Sunday night, June 11th, into early Monday morning, and that includes all of North Alabama and most of central Alabama, too. Now, who does the enhanced versus slight include? Let's not get caught up in that. This is going to be a whopper of a line of thunderstorms moving southeast across the state this evening and tonight. So we'll start this northwest Alabama as early as 5 p.m. So think of these windows here as storms as early as until as late as. So instead of a specific time of the storm being at a spot, we're giving you a window where the storms are most likely. 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., the northwest corner of the state, and we'll include Huntsville, Decatur, Athens, Moulton, Russellville, Hamilton, Double Springs, and say West Point in that, maybe even Skyline and Langston in Jackson County. 8 p.m. to midnight, those storms rolling through places like Jasper and Cullman and Gunnersville, Fort Payne, Scottsboro, Jasper, Birmingham, Pell City, Oxford, Anniston, Tuscaloosa, and then they move on down toward the south where we've already had quite a few storms today. So we'll take the Storm Prediction Center information off and just let you see the timeline so that you can see the map and there's not so much there. The timing about 5 p.m. until about 2 a.m. So at the earliest to at the latest. Now, look what's been going on to our north here Sunday afternoon. I'm recording this around 4 p.m. This batch of storms is the one that we are looking at here for central Alabama for tonight. So those storms right now are approaching the Memphis area. So that line itself is about 100 miles away from Lauderdale County, say from Zip City, 100 miles from Zip City in northwest Alabama. Then you've got severe storms going on up here close to the Nashville Metro, over to the northeast of Cookeville, and then a tornado warning there south of London, Kentucky. This cluster of storms is not coming toward us. In fact, the risk of a tornado would be much, much higher in this area that I'm circling right now, as opposed to this area that's out to the west. This first bubble that I've drawn that's about 100 miles from Lauderdale County, that one will be more linear. In fact, what I think is going to happen here is we'll get rid of both of those clusters, and we'll just look at this as a line from where it is right now. Now, remember, it's about 100 miles away from Zip City. So from, say, Muscle Shoals, it's about 110 miles or so. Give or take, these things will be moving southeast at about 45 to 50 miles per hour. So they're just about 200 miles away from Birmingham. That would be about 4 hours at the earliest for them to get into Jefferson County and Shelby County, Walker County, about 3 hours at the earliest. So we're talking at the earliest point, these would get to Cullman or Jasper 7 or 8 o'clock. At the latest, we're maybe 9, 10 o'clock. There's a little bit of play in just how these storms are going to work out. So what's causing this? Well, there are two things in play. Number one, we've got a lot of instability. And number two, above the surface, there's something called a low-level jet right in that area right there. So the wind is coming here, and it's pushing lots of warm, dry air in. And normally don't think of dry air being a big deal, but it's very hot air at about 3,000 to 5,000 feet above the surface. So as these thunderstorms that are up here to the northwest, they get fed by this. So the closer they get to that, the more energy that they're going to have, and they could be some whoppers later on this evening. So here's what the HRR model, the HRRR, looks like for tonight into early tomorrow morning. Lots and lots of fuel, CAPE, available for these thunderstorms to chew up on. And again, we don't pay so much attention to the timing here. This says 10 o'clock, Jackson, Madison, Limestone, Colbert, Franklin. I think it's probably well south of there by that point. 10 o'clock, we still have plenty of CAPE around. Look at that. Boy, Birmingham to Tuscaloosa, Walker County, that's easily 1,000 to 2,000 joules per kilogram of CAPE. And if you don't know what that means, It's a lot, especially for 10 p.m. The higher that number goes, the more intense the storms can be. What is possible here that I think the HRRR is picking up on is that we get this development out to the west, closer to where that warm air is blowing in over Mississippi. So we may have an intensification of storms here and maybe a little weakening here across central Alabama, as the storms by this time would probably be closer to Birmingham. So even if they weaken, they're still going to have a lot of wind with them. This whole thing is moving southeast at 50. So any additional wind generated by the storm is just going to amplify on top of that 50. So 35 miles per hour, I think that's the bottom level that most of us are going to experience. A lot of communities are going to get somewhere closer to 40 or 45 miles per hour. And then you look at there, say 2 a.m., 3 a.m., those storms are now south of Birmingham, and Monday is looking brighter. So let's recap the timeline from about 5 o'clock at the earliest in northwest Alabama to about 2 a.m. at the latest for the Montgomery, Auburn area and points south of there. The things you can expect would primarily be high wind, hail, heavy rainfall, maybe up to an inch of rain in some places that could come down in 30 minutes, localized flooding possible, but not long-lasting flooding. And then we're going to have to deal with more of this week. In fact, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're back up to a high chance of rain, and I'm calling those impact days as well because of the potential of flash flooding and the threat that some of those storms still could be severe out here on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Monday looks okay. We'll see some sunshine break through the clouds, top out around 84, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, more impact weather possible. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, those storms are going to be thinning out, and I think as we go toward next weekend, the closer we get to it, I really start to think this is more dry, but there still might be an isolated storm or two even on Saturday or Sunday. So what happens? A heat wave starts to build, and for Father's Day weekend and beyond, the average high would be about 89 in Birmingham, the average low about 67. I think we are probably in the mid-90s from Father's Day on into the following week. Some model guidance has been suggesting it gets even hotter than that. That remains to be seen. We'll just have to see as we get closer to it. But nonetheless, it does look very hot and very humid going into next weekend and beyond. And we'll, of course, keep you updated with the impact weather for Sunday night and then more impact days Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with more heavy storms expected.